as homes now. Pro athletes are also big customers, but maybe the most interesting customers on the list are the politicians. Not only are they making enough money in the field of public service to buy luxury bunkers, but they are making the bunker makers actually sign non-disclosure agreements. The politicians don't want anyone to know they're preparing for the enemy.
Landing couple engaged. Clear to leave controlled airspace.
Think we're doing, no matter who's elected.
Tonight, a new warning that Kim Jong-un may try to provoke the U.S. and send a message of intimidation sometime in the next month, around the time of the November election. The warning comes from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, and is published on its website, Beyond Parallel. The group says for some 60 years, Kim, his father, and grandfather have demonstrated a pattern of trying to incite tensions around the time America votes. Just this year alone, Kim Jong-un has fired off 15 missile tests, 2 nuclear bomb tests, making 5 overall. What could be next?
I think it could be a 6th nuclear test. It could be launching of their rocket to put a satellite in orbit, which demonstrates ballistic missile capability. Doing a major test would be a way of trying to intimidate the incoming president.
Whoever is president will face an increasingly dangerous North Korean dictator.
Retracting landing gear.
You are clear of the port. Federal flight control signing off.
Issued a citywide tactical alert following the police killing of an African-American teenager over the weekend. On Saturday and Sunday night, protesters took to the streets outraged over the death of 18-year-old Carnell Snell Jr., known as CJ.
Police department there just issued a citywide tactical alert. A citywide tactical alert in Los Angeles. The question, is Los Angeles about to go up like Charleston? According to Susan Duclos for the All News Pipeline, now she reports that we are seeing with increasing frequency, another police-involved shooting. And it's being used as an excuse to bring in outside agitators, much like what we saw in Charleston. Now they say this is in order to create protests and chaos by inciting more racial tensions across the United States. She writes that from one end of the country to another, we have been witnessing a planned attack on America from groups like Black Lives Matter, funded directly by this man, George Soros, in order to create civil unrest. You know, she writes, he's made a career out of this all across the world in order to implement his idea of change within America to usher in the New World Order.
As requested.
And parents are demanding answers after their kids were sent home with this white privilege
Exiting
survey.
map.
Seniors at a high school, at Oregon High School, asked to react to a series of racially charged statements.
Terrain alert. Climb immediately.
I can go shopping alone most of the time, pretty well assured that I will not be followed.
Requesting landing platform.
Newspaper endorsements made
Request
out much these days.
approved. Assigned to landing pad 04.
Dallas Morning News backing Hillary Clinton the first time in 75 years. The paper hasn't endorsed a Republican for president. Cincinnati Enquirer, which has supported Republicans for nearly a century. San Diego Union Tribune, more than a century. And then we have the Arizona Republic, which has never backed a Democrat for president since its founding in 1890 and has been very critical of Donald Trump. Republic senators say they've gotten a wave of cancellations
Power to
along with
engines.
some death threats. And also USA Today.
Visual acquired. Heading is good.
34-year history saying Trump's ain't fit for the presidency, but not attacking Beijing.
A leading figure of the Al-Qaeda militant organization
Caution, extend landing gear.
a person known as Basri spent
Deploying gear.
In native Egypt, on charges of supporting with the fundamentalist Islamist groups, and he later left for Afghanistan. The U.S. Defense Department said Masri was the target of the U.S. airstrike near Idlib province in Syria on Monday. He died when his vehicle was hit in the rebel-held area.
Officials said Monday that a radio
Landing
station used by
complete.
ISIS
Deploying ground services. Enjoy your stay, Commander.
cities it conquered has been bombed out of operation. A spokesman at Iraq's Joint Operation Command told NBC News that the Al Bayan radio station was one of the strongest propaganda tools for the militants inside Mosul, Iraq. He said broadcasting stopped Sunday after the station was bombed by Iraqi jets. The spokesman explained they used to broadcast Islamic anthems that encouraged people to join them and to stand against the government and encourage people to be terrorists under the name of jihad.
Troops from India and Pakistan have exchanged heavy fire and targeted each other's positions on the line of control dividing Kashmir. The conflict started around 11 a.m. local time on Monday in the Shahpur sector of the frontier Poonch district. Indian officials say 2 civilians were wounded due to the firing from Pakistan's side, and they have retaliated to the attack. Pakistan's official broadcaster also accused Indian forces of restoring to unprovoked firing in Nazapir sector.
Pastors across America came together Sunday to fight a piece of legislation called the Johnson Amendment. That limits what they're allowed to say about politics from the pulpit. Conservative group Alliance Defending Freedom held an event called Pulpit Freedom Sunday. The group is fighting for a new bill that would address the speech restrictions imposed by the Johnson Amendment. Churches currently risk their tax-exempt status if they speak out about a political campaign. So far, 4,100 pastors have signed up for the protest.
California Governor Jerry Brown signed a bill into law Friday that makes it illegal to distribute recorded conversations containing confidential information from healthcare professionals in the state of California. The bill was introduced after anti-abortion group the Center for Medical Progress attempted to expose Planned Parenthood's donation of fetal tissue to research companies last year. After state investigations, Planned Parenthood was found not guilty of wrongdoing. The man and woman who went undercover to obtain the recordings were charged in Texas with tampering with government records for creating fake IDs and attempting to purchase fetal body parts from Planned Parenthood. The charges were later dropped. Under the new law, only the individuals who make the recordings will be prosecuted, excluding journalists who might aid in their distribution.
Black Monday in Poland. That's the name of this nationwide protest by women angry at proposals for a total ban on abortion, even if someone's been raped. They stayed away from their schools and offices to register their disgust. The centre-right government's bill will create some of the most restrictive abortion laws in Europe. Speaking in Warsaw, Barbara Nowacka, the leader of the United Left Party, accused the ruling Law and Order Party of supporting medieval barbarism. "We don't want this. We will stop and expel the fanatics," she said. The current law allows abortions if the woman's life is in danger, if there's a risk of serious and irreversible damage to the fetus, or in cases of rape or incest.
As hopes faded of a swift deal with U.S. authorities over a multi-billion-dollar penalty, Deutsche Bank shares resumed falling on Monday after recovering from a record low at the end of last week, with the Department of Justice demanding a
What is a
fine
VIET
of
beacon?
$14 billion for mis-selling mortgage-backed securities.
VIET.
The German
VIET.
lawyer is throwing its energies into reaching a settlement before next month's U.S. presidential election. Though its shares didn't trade in Germany on Monday because of a public holiday, its U.S.-listed stock was down around 2.8% at mid-morning.
The UK's Chancellor of Exchequer, Philip Hammond, has said there is economic trouble ahead as the government negotiates the country's withdrawal from the European Union. His statement comes after Prime Minister Theresa May announced on Sunday that the government will trigger the formal mechanism for Brexit by the end of March next year. Triggering of the union's list of treaties, the UK will have years of negotiations. It said it expects turbulence during this process.
Ship restraints retracted. Clear for departure.
Landing gear up.
The UK and the EU.
Around 1,500 Greek pensioners tried to march to Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras' office on Monday to show their anger is set to introduce further austerity measures in its 2017 budget at the request of international lenders.
Tonight, Hurricane Matthew already deadly and
Engaging
closing in on
jump.
Haiti. Now packing 140-mile-per-hour winds. At one point, the
Resume
strongest
own
Atlantic
navigation.
hurricane in
SSB
nearly
out.
a decade. But it's the storm's slow speed, just 7 miles per hour, that makes it so dangerous.
Transferring power to engines.
Haiti today from the neighboring Dominican Republic. The outer bands are already starting to bring heavy rain, and the worst of the storm is still hours away. Parts of the island could see more than 3 feet of rain, potentially triggering deadly mudslides. Making matters worse, 6 years after the disastrous earthquake of
Preparing for
2010
jump.
that left more than 200,000 people dead, and more than 50,000 people irretrievably living in makeshift shelters. And at this orphanage outside of Port-au-Prince, they've boarded up the windows and moved their more than 60 children to the second floor. The storm has already killed at least 4 across the region. In Cuba, the U.S. military is already evacuating military family members from Guantanamo Bay. This man warns residents to evacuate. Long lines are forming for food and supplies. Worshippers of this church pray they'll be spared. And with odds increasing for a landfall in the U.S. later this week, states of emergency have already been declared from Florida to North Carolina.
Heavy flooding in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea has damaged or destroyed 30,000 homes and affected at least 600,000 people. Video footage taken last week shows hundreds of displaced residents living in temporary shelters in North Hamgyong province. Aid groups have called for help ahead of the winter season. According to the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Society,
Preparing for jump.
residents are in shelter and health services. Access to food and safe water is also a problem. The group has launched a $15 million emergency appeal to provide aid for the next 12 months.
After the many embraces that welcomed Pope Francis to Assisi, this piece from the representatives of the religions of the world taking part in the World Day
Jumping.
Prayer for Peace, dialogue was taken up in the refectory of the Sacro-Conventual Priory in New York.
2, 1, engage.
Separately prayed for peace in different locations throughout the city of St. Francis. In the ecumenical prayer among Christians, Archbishop Justin Welby and the ecumenical patriarch Bartholomew I of Constantinople both offered meditations ahead of a reflection by Pope Francis. Before Christ crucified, the Pope said in his remarks, we Christians are called to contemplate the mystery of love not loved, and to pour out mercy upon the world. We are called to the trees of life, like the cross, which transformed evil into good, in order to absorb the contamination of indifference and restore the pure air of love to the world.
Exiting now.
It lets us get out a very important public safety message quickly to a large number of people.
Move that patient towards the helicopter.
Cell phones in the pockets of frightened parents across this small town started burning up at 1:45 p.m. just before the end of classes for the day at Townville Elementary.
We did have a report of a third patient.
Police say a local teenager armed with a handgun appeared at a playground behind the school and started shooting at teachers and children. A young boy was shot in the leg, another boy in the foot. A teacher trying to keep the kids safe was shot in the shoulder. One of the children had to be flown to a hospital in Greenville, South
Engaging
Carolina.
jump.
Police got here fast. In 7 minutes, they had the teen in custody. Snipers went to the roof to clear the building while this all-too-familiar scene of moving
Jumping to
children
light
by school
speed.
bus to a nearby church played out.
Engaging jump drive.
Parents couldn't get to their children fast enough.
Ready to engage.
4, 3, 2, 1, engage.
46-year-old Jeffrey Osborne, and he's been shot dead. Police say the son was homeschooled and are not sure yet why they targeted the elementary
Orbital flight engaged.
District leaders for a few weeks, and local St. Cleveland just got the go-ahead